All right, so let's get back to it. So this time through, we're going to work on creating our function that's going to check to see if we have a winner or not. But before we do that, I want to make sure we update something on our storyboard, just because if you want to go ahead and test your app out at any point, um, I just realized something here, so let's go ahead and do a quick check. So go to your storyboard, and we're going to check on our labels. All right, so basically our 9 labels here that created our grid. Go ahead and check and click on one and make sure you're under label, the first color is black. All right, mine was white, so it actually kind of had this appearance when I first looked at it. That won't be any good because when you click on a cell, you're not going to be able to see what's in there because the text color is white and you're going to be thinking something's not working. So make sure that is black so that way you're good to go. Okay, because at this point when you run it, just to kind of show you where we are at, okay, here's our grid. So when I click, you can see it is working. Okay, obviously, but we don't have any code in to determine if a game over or tie. So that's why we kind of have this. We're kind of stuck here. But either way, though, we are working. Okay, so if you want to try that on yours to see if it's working, only thing you would have to do in your code is just comment out the check for winner line, the function. Okay, and then at that point you'd be able to do what you just saw on the screen there. Okay, but either way, just make sure your label that you change the color of the label, the text label, to black so you can see it. Okay, but either way, let's go ahead and let's add here. So we have our first function where we place the value into the label. Now we need to go ahead and check for our winner. Do we have a winner or not? So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna go func check for. Oh, hang on a second here. I don't want all this stuff. Okay. All right, we're gonna go func, and then we're gonna call it check for winner. All right, so again, that is the name right here. Okay. All right, we're not going to pass any parameters to this one. We are just basically running this function to check, do we have a winner or not? All right, so now with tic-tac-toe, we got to figure out all the possibilities that you can win. So basically, you think about tic-tac-toe, you can win left to right, you can win top to bottom, you can also win right to left, and you can also win diagonally. So basically, we just have to figure out those combinations, and then we need to do a check here. Okay, so it's going to be a string of if statements here. So the first one we're going to look at, let's compare our first row. So we'll look at so essentially we're going to look at if label 1, 2, and 3 are the same, that means we have a win. So 1, 2, and 3. So that's where all those label outlets are going to come back into play here. Okay, so what we're going to do here, so we're going to go if label 1.text, and we're going to compare, so 2 equal signs is the same thing as label 2.text, and label 2, there we go, dot text is the same thing as label 3.text, and we just want to make sure that label 3 is not empty, not equal to nil, or blank there. Okay, if that happens, then we're gonna create a function later. This one's called present winning alert. Okay, and then this will go away. But basically, this is going to flash a message up on the screen saying, "Hey, you won here." Okay, and then we're going to base that off of whatever as we compare these 3 numbers here. Fix that error. As we compare these labels, all right, whatever's in the last label. So if that's an X or no, that's going to be what appears up on our screen here. All right, so let's go ahead and string interpolation on that. Okay. So again, we will fix this little nasty error later. We just got to make the function. Okay, but that's our first check right there. Okay, so we're saying so if label across the board there 1, 2, and 3. If that works, we're good to go. Okay, so now let's do the same thing for our second row. All right, so let's compare 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so same thing. So then we'd want to do an else. So if that else. Okay, so now we're going to go else if label 4.text is equal to label 5.text, and label 5.text is the same as label 6.text. Okay, and we want to check to make sure that label 6 is not empty. Oops. Okay, so if that's the case there, so again, we're just going to take this same function. I'm going to copy this down here. All right, and then again, we want to pass in the value of the last label into our into our screen there. So that's the next one. So now we just keep this pattern going. All right, so now we're going to look at our last row, 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9. Okay, so coming back in here, so now we'll go if label 7.text is equal to label 8.text, and label 8.text is equal to label 9.text. And we want to make sure label 9 is not empty. And again, let's just pass in our present winning alert. And again, we're going to pass in the value of the last one, which is label 9. Okay, so that's basically, there we go. We've checked from left to right, from top to bottom. Okay, so now if you're kind of getting the hang of this and you want to work ahead here, you can kind of stop the video or fast forward, all right, or you can continue to work with me here. All right, but what we're going to do now, it's the same process. You just need to compare and think, okay, so we've done the rows. So now, why don't we go ahead and look at top to bottom? Okay, so we're going to go 1, 4, 7. Okay, so let's go back into our code here. So else if label 1.text is equal to label 4.text, and label 4.text is equal to label 7.text. And let's make sure label 7 is not empty. Okay, and then once again, let's pass in that winning alert function. And change this one. We're going to pass in label 7 because it's the last one. All right, so now that's our first top to bottom. Now let's go 2, 5, 8. All right, where are we at here? Oh, let's go back. Okay, so else if label 2.text, label 5.text. Nope, that's not how you spell else. Jeez, oh man. There we go. Label text. There we are here. And okay, so label 2 compared to label 5. Now I gotta go label 5.text to label 8.text. And let's make sure label 8.text is not an empty label. And we're good. And let's go ahead and pass in our last label to that one. Okay, so now let's just go over and we got to check 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, 9 are there. Okay. Okay. So again, it gets pretty repetitive at this point here, but it's important that you just make sure you're putting everything in correctly. So obviously this is the game here. If you don't have this working, it's not going to compare the right things, and it's not going to be effective, and no one will like your game, and no one will play it. That'd be a sad thing there. Okay, so label 3 to 6. Now we're going to go label .6.text to 9. And let's make sure 9 is not equal to empty string. And then we'll pass in, as always, the last label. That'll determine what shows up into our alert. Okay, and then we're almost done. So we've now compared, okay, left to right, top to bottom. Now we got to do our diagonals. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 5, 9. 1, 5, 9. Okay, almost done here. Okay, so now we will say else if label 1.text is equal to label 5.text, and label 5.text is equal to label 9.text. And again, we'll make sure label 9 is not empty. And then we'll pass in our winning alert, and again, pass in label 9. And last one, let's compare this one here. So 3, 5, 7. 3, 5, 7 we're looking at. Let's do label 3. Okay, then it's label 5.text. And label 5.text is the same as label 7.text. And make sure the label text is not equal to a blank string. And then last time we got to do this. And then we'll pass in label 7. Okay, so A lot of stuff there. All right, so very important. Just double check your work there. Just make sure you have all your labels in correctly. Don't worry about the 8 errors that are showing right now. They should be there because we have not created this function present winning alert. So we will take care of those in our next screencast. But at this point, though, we're just about done. So we now have a function that checks to see if you've won the game. Next thing we need to do is have an alert view show up on the screen saying, hey, you've won, and then we will be all done. All right, so good job. Keep it up, and see you back on the next video.